Okay, well, welcome back, guys. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so bear with me. Uh, an exam coming up, Simple Sketches exam. Always freaks everybody out when, for the first time, we're sort of asking you really to draw from the word. It's not, it's not as difficult as it really sounds. If you just follow, read the specification, it's nothing to really start freaking out about. I'm just going to show you how I do it, and I've just got sitting on the screen here in front of me something I've written, just a typical exam. By the way, I'm sorry it's a little bit dark too, guys, but if I put the overhead light on, it just freaks out the webcam a little bit, so I'm happy everyone can see this pretty clearly. Okay, so it's specification, brick veneer with timber floor frame and section through. Oh, well, that's not too hard. Footing, just a simple 450 by 450. Trench mesh, 3 bar, top and bottom. R10 stirrups, that'd be, at 900 centres. We can draw that, that's no problem. Floor frame, 100 by 75 bearer in elevation at 1800 centres. Well, we're only going to be drawing the one because we're only going to fit that on the page. 100 by 50 joist in section at 450 centres. And this is where we'll draw these in properly. How we're going to support the wall. How we're going to do it just like a pro builder would actually do it. Yellow tongue flooring, 19mm, and yes, it's a platform floor, meaning that the flooring runs under the bottom plate of the wall frame. We all know that. So he's talking about the roof here, and instead of a boxed eaves, he wants a raked eaves, which is a little bit different. That's not too hard, we can do that. And he hasn't mentioned the Safite lining, but that's okay. We'll just use some 4.5 Safite lining FC sheet. A little bit of a detail, 90 by 45 rafters, 30-degree pitch. No teacher's going to really hold you to that. If you sort of were pretty close, if all you had, I've only brought over a 45 by 45 set square with me at the moment, guys. I'm not going to use my drawing board. I'm just going to my college board or anything like that. I'm going to draw like you guys would in class, make it a bit easier for you. 600 centres, 100 by 50 ceiling joist, 600 centres, overhang 450, 350 roof tiles, concrete roof tiles, the old school ones. They were really sort of popular around the late 1960s, early 70s for a while. Detail, sarking wall wrap. Okay, so we've got some sarking on the front of this frame. 10mm plasterboard to the walls, 13mm to the ceiling, and 90mm cornice. That's all right. A 75mm splayed skirting. Okay, we can put one of those on. A splayed is not too difficult. Detail external. All right, well, he wants us to use 180 by 25mm fascia board. 100mm quad gutter. Okay, well, we could do that. And of course, label all members. And we'll try to do this neat labeling. I'm noticing, I know it's difficult, guys, and it takes a bit of practice with if you don't have a neat handwrite, it can make it a little bit harder. But yeah, take your time, do your best. Let's keep it legible, but sometimes it is a bit of a shame when I see a really good drawing and then I see the labeling and it's really let it down. It almost looks like the same person didn't do the drawing as the one that did the labeling. Let's see if we can keep that a little bit cleaner. Alright, so look, without any further ado, he hasn't mentioned any heights or anything, but I think I'll just flick the page over and I'll get started. Here, we'll do something. We'll come down the bottom of the page and we'll just go ahead with what we usually do in terms of a ground line. So we'll put a ground line in here. Try and come up just enough amount to get your footing in. Made a bit of a hip there. And we've just got a bit of a ground line there. We can even, while we're there, we could even put a little bit of sectional detail of ground line in there, going in around where we're going to draw our footing before we remove it and excavate just enough out to get that footing in. So we'll get that in now, and we're going to come in, rub out a little bit of the ground line, get rid of that, reach up and grab our set square, and I'm just going to measure down 450. I want another, at least a minute 75mm under that, so come down again 75mm and just simply draw a reasonably firm line in there, coming across 450 now. I might just turn the dining room light on because it's getting a little bit dark here, and I'm frightened that a lot of you people won't be able to see what I'm doing because I can barely see what I'm measuring. So I've just finished my little excavation there, and we'll bring up the lines and the sides there. And while I'm there, I'll just finish off a bit of detail. Just give me a minute, guys. I'll just turn on the kitchen light. Yeah, that looks like it's helped a little bit, doesn't it? Alright, okay, so let's put some concrete in this hole here. Hold your set square on, 450. Should be able to find that. Yeah, there's my... And we'll put some concrete in that hole there. And we'll detail a little bit of steel in there. Come down to your usual 40. Come up your 40. Come in 40 from the end. Stop at 40 because we've got 40mm cover. Come up off the base of the footing. Draw that in. Remember, you're stopping about 40 there. Doesn't have to be totally accurate, just look proportional. Remember, it was 3 bar 10-inch mesh 11mm bar, and we'll draw those in there. Now let's put the R10 strips in. If you want to make it look really professional, just jump over a little bit where they've actually been bent and joined and allow a little offset there, really indicating that you are quite aware of what the finished article does look like because you've built it so much. Just a simple strip footing there. Now we know that with a timber floor frame in something like a brick veneer, we're just going to simply just have the external wall like the perimeter wall, except we're sitting inside of it, back off it, off 40mm to create a cavity, but you just more or less set up exactly the same way as if you were going to do a perimeter wall. Find center, of course, with 450. It's 22, 25, 10. Just find center. Yeah, that's close to center. Off the center, come back 110. Create 10mm there. And then another 110 for your attached pier. Bring up the lines, making sure all the time, as always guys, that we're nice and parallel from the edge of the page. Sorry there's a little bit of delay in the action of the video cam, guys. I'm not one of those sophisticated computer buffs that has all the incredible gear. Let's just draw up the page, keeping parallel, of course. Always want to make sure that looks nice and neat. We can put a break line in there now. Going to put a roof up here. Remember, we've got a break line because we can't fit, you know, actual 2.4 on the page. Leave the brickwork for a minute. We can leave that to the end. We'll detail that up at the end there. Now remember, we're looking for a minimum height of 450 off the ground line, or 400 off the ground line, I should say. Just come up a little bit more than that. Holding it on that 110 mark, holding it parallel to these lines, and bring it up. Scribe that nice and through, and bang, you've got the top of your attached pier in place. Come down at an angle of about 45 degrees, down, make it about 6 millimeters long, and just detail that end cap in place. Always remember to include your hidden detail for the DPC. Okay, come across 40 millimeters. It's a little bit tight here, but we'll get the detail in, don't worry. And let's put our cavity line in. And you bring that all the way down to the end cap. Scribe off any excess there. Get rid of that little line there inside the end cap. Make it look like an end cap. Remember that end cap does go right through, but it's been cut off there and there. Right. Okay, we've got that in place. Let's put a bearer on there now. And he's going to be in elevation, so we're not going to do a section of the bearer. Oh damn, I just snapped that. I hope that still goes okay. Give us a nice long length there so we can get a couple of good joists on. We said 100 millimeters for the bearer. Up 100. Right to the line. Another break line there, guys. Reaching termination points. Now comes the good bit that I like and enjoy. Come up 100. And it's okay to have this as one straight line because it's going to be the underside of the flooring. Remember, we've got floor joists at 100 by 50 in section. We've just drawn the bearer 100 by 75. You can't see the 75 because it's hidden. Elevation. Sitting on there enough. Don't worry, that bearing, someone asked me the other day, Mark, it doesn't look like the bearer's sitting far enough on the engaged pier. Doesn't matter. That's perfectly fine. There's enough weight in this brick veneer to keep that down. Remember, that's attached pier. The only time I'm ever concerned if the brickies didn't put any brick ties through that and attach that pier to that front veneer skin. Anyway, got that line. Come up 100, as I said, to represent your joists. Right on that line there, very good. So that'll be the underside of the flooring, so you may as well finish the flooring off. And sometimes, as long as you're proportional, you won't have to measure 2 millimeters on your instrument, guys. You can usually get the proportions right. While we're there, we might as well put a bit of wall frame in there. That's looking like it just could be a little bit taller, so we'll just remove that break line for the minute. If it happens for you, this is the time to do it. This is why I don't like to detail a lot of the brickwork straight away, guys, until I know that I've sort of allowed enough, and it's a bit hard to judge that sometimes. We can take that line up just a little bit more, and these two lines here, keeping them nice and close, of course. I'll just make sure I parallel that. No, hang on, I don't need that inside line because I'm not attached there anymore. We'll get rid of that. Oops. We have a straight 40mm cavity happening in there now. As I said, bear with me, guys. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Probably a couple of years. And I don't mind making videos, but it's a bit hard to sit here and talk to yourself. It's alright. No one's going to think I'm crazy or anything. It's only the dog and I that are home, so that's good. 90mm wall frame. I don't think he mentioned that in the specification. If the teacher hasn't done that, that's okay. You just make sure you put one in there that you know would meet the code. And yeah, we all know enough of our timber framing code now to really do that. We can do a little bit of detail while we're here now. I'm just adding some little bit of hatching there to represent the particle board flooring. I'm going to firm in that cut through the bottom plate. Even with a bit of red, go back to your fountain pen and use a little bit of red or something like that, something that really firms it up. Alright, now we'll set out the joists. They're 100 by 50, so what I do is I go 50, okay, which is 5mm. I just leave a small 20mm gap, and I go 50 again. That way I get this joist halfway. This wall plate should be in the center of this double joist because there's two there. So this is the inside double joist, and this is the outside double joist. Okay, and always making sure that that weight is on there. That's how you do it properly. That's how you do it on site properly as well. You can put a little bit of packer in between them, but you don't bang them together, because one day a mass flood or something, they may have to take the floor out of the house. 450 centers, look how I'm just marked that. I've just come to 0 here, or 100 actually, but I've just come across 45mm, which is 450 at 1:10. 5mm again. We can do a running measurement. 450, the next one along is 900, and there it is there. And you've just done a little running, what they call a running measurement, not moving the tape but just running across. That's how carpenters set out studs and rafters on wall plates, by doing what they call the running measurement. It's one of those bit of a tricky thing to teach an apprentice. If you're confident enough and the instruments in your way or whatever, it's perfectly okay to do the section or hatching by hand. And I like seeing it nice and firm. You see how a drafting engineering draftsperson does it. They really go around and they really firm that in to represent that they've chopped through a structural member. Don't do any of this until you're satisfied your joists are in the right place, they look right, and you're happy with the way they are. I'm not going to worry too much if one's a little bit bigger than the other. I mean, it's an exam. You're going to rush it a little bit. Everybody does. While you're there too, you could sort of say to myself, I might put an important dimension in from here to here. You could say something while we're there, 400 minimum. While we've got our marking, our labelling out, I won't do any labelling just yet. I think we should get the rest of the drawing finished. Now back up the top of the screen now, and let's draw the roof frame. We're simply going to bring up the timber frame first. And well, I think I've got just enough on there. Just look where it sits on your page. Yeah, that'll do us. I'll get 450 in there easy. So let's make that the top plate up here. Just a single top plate. Rafters. And while we're there, we might as well hatch that. I'll just get the right colour. I like to red. You may not know this, but there is a colour code to actual hatching. Timbers are usually in orange, and concrete sometimes represented in green or blue. These days, the CADs just they just don't recognise any of that. Such a shame, really. Let's get some proportions right here. We can bring that down a little bit more, actually. And we might put a break line in then. Let's get a nice bit of detail when you've got more drawing on there. And put the other brake line on. Lightning bolt. Oops. It takes me a while to get used to these clutch pencils again. I've always been a little bit of a heavy-handed drawer. Up here now, the rafter. See how I've just come in for the corner at about 30 degrees. As I said, no one's going to really be too picky on that. Alright, but you know, don't make it 45 or 60 or anything like that, of course. Just, you know, 30 degrees. You should sort of have a bit of an appreciation of what that is by now. As I said, I've just come into the corner. I'm going to have a bird's mouth depth into my rafter of about 25 millimeters, so I'm sort of looking for doing that. That's the underside of my rafter going on now. And I'll just come straight off that parallel 90 millimeters. And we'll simply bring that down. We'll check that and get the overhang right and everything else in a minute. A brake line up on the top of the rafter there. Put the ceiling joists on now. That's a 100mm ceiling joist. When you get a bit more experience, you'll find that you'll be able to take one measurement rather than measure up parallel all the time. And you'll be able to race through your drawings a little bit quicker. I'm just putting a nail in there. Remember that hidden detail that I've just shown there, to represent that the ceiling joist is just sitting in behind it. Right. Break line over on the ceiling joist over here. And let's bring the brickwork up now. Remember, it's a raked eaves, so we can take it up, but we're going to stop at least 10mm from the underside of the rafter. There's our top of our bricks there. It's okay to cross your lines a little bit, but just don't let them go out of hand. It's perfectly okay to cross your lines. Even architects do that. Don't worry about it. Let's measure the overhang. Now that we've got the bricks sitting in there, let's measure the overhang now. Until I strike, there it is there. There's 450 here. I come across to 0 and bingo. There is my plumb cut. While I'm there, I might as well put my fascia board on. You remember that he asked for a 180 by 25mm fascia, so we'll slide that up to 180. Gets a little bit tricky sometimes when we're just doing 8 raked eaves. The fascia board can get a little bit big. That's okay. We can work in with that. So slide it up until you've got a fairly good height above the top of the rafter. We can sit the belt, what they call the belt cast batten, in behind that. Get rid of this here. And we know how much 25 is. Just come out 25. Put a bit of a bullnose on that there. And simply finish that off. And we'll put some timber hatching detail onto that to show that the fascia board's timber. Now, probably what a lot of people sometimes struggle with is the drawing the roof tiles, which is always a bit of a sequential thing. So I'm just having a sip of my coffee there. So let's put our battens on first. Use the 30 by 30, 30 by 40 will do the job most time there. You guys, now that you're playing a little bit with timber framing code, should be able to tell me 30 by 50 sometimes, 50 by 50, and we're just going to space them at about 350. Right, so the first one we're going to put in, let's make them 30 by 50. Okay, 350, come along, there's 350, bang, 350 and 350 is 700, bang, and we'll go another 350 off that, 800, 900, 1 meter and 50. There they are there. So what I do, I just come along 30mm up, and I more or less draw just underneath where I've spaced them, and that shouldn't be a problem of getting them right. They can be a little bit annoying, these things, if you haven't got it right the first time, you can have the opportunity to play around with it a little bit and fix it up. Don't go hatching them just yet. Wait till you've drawn the roof tiles on before you start doing something like that. You've really got to make sure you've got quite a little bit of detail to go into this. So let's draw it as we build it. And we haven't, as I said, we haven't put any hatching in for the brickwork yet, but we're actually working to the sequence of construction too. We go timber frame. The brickies would just take us to this point, to DPC level. We put the rest of the building up, and then they come back when we got the windows in and put the bricks in. So we're actually working to sequence here. That line doesn't quite look firm enough. Let's firm that up a little bit. There you go. Now we can draw some roof tiles on. Cool. So what I generally do is I draw the bottom of the tile first. So that goes from that corner at the batten and bring it out, come over the top of the fascia board. Come up about 20 mil on there. Come back about 30, 40 mil usually is the hook. Join those lines together and you've got yourself a roof tile. While you're there, you could put some hatching in. Look, we're 30 degrees, we won't need an anti-ponding board. Does stick up a little bit higher, doesn't it? Sometimes with a rake deep you may need to cut down the fascia board a little bit. But I love, and it's also as he stated there in the specification, a 25mm. They're fantastic. They're so much stronger, easier to work with than the 18mm fascia boards. Coming back along now, guys. Come back this again the same way. Come up, mimic that line there, its position and its height. Do the same here. 75mm of cover is actually what's in the code for all roof tiles. And then all we've got to do is draw from the corner of the batten to the end of the roof tile. From the top of the hook to the end of the roof tile again. And you've got another roof tile on. And we're drawing them, as you can see, exactly the way the roof tile is laid them, from the bottom up. Once again, come in about 75, come up 20, your hook's there, in the top corner of the batten, the top of the roof tile, scribe along. Finish the top off. That's not too bad. And there is your roof tiles in place. Okay, now the roof battens are in place, we could hatch those. And we can start working our way down through the drawing and finishing it off. You wanted something like a 100mm quad gutter. You didn't mention stormwater pipe details, so we won't worry about that. However, let's finish off our eaves here. We'll put a 4.5 Safite lining in there, and we'll just have a nice 25mm quad in there to finish off the brickwork nice and neatly. I like raked eaves. I think they look good. They're a lot easier to build than the box eaves as well. They're a lot faster. And in the old days, they used to have them, they'd line the top here instead of coming up underneath, and you'd see the ends of the rafters, exposed rafters. You'll notice that if you look at a lot of houses from the 1920s, guys. Alright, I think the next thing we should do to finish off the drawing, let's put this brickwork in now. I don't have my little jig with me that I was always used to using, but I've just got an old ruler here and I'm just going to use a few marks on that. That'll do me. Coming down. Alright, line them up. Full brick, 10 mil. Brick, 10. Brick, 10. Brick, 10. 76, 10. 76, 10. 76, 10. And I think we'll get one more in. 76, 10. Yeah. Bring your bricks across. Don't worry if you cross the lines a bit. Take your time. We could have got one more in there, we can put one in. Alright, our bricks are in. Let's not forget about our veneer ties. And we'll be mentioning, of course, that they're at 600 centres. Sarking going on now, guys. Right, down over the wall frame. We've just about got all the detail on. Let's not forget about our sarking on our roof as well. Going over, festooning a little bit, means sort of bending a little bit. Going up over your battens. Once again, just do something parallel off there for your plasterboard. And we'll be mentioning a few things now. Remember. Right, now to draw your corners, come down about 90mm from there, come in about 90mm from there, and just do something like that, 10mm long, and then simply just do something freehand like that, and dot it up a little bit. We'll mention it. And that's the top half of the drawing done, so we can start from the top now and start labelling down. Also, while we've got the red out as well, let's cross hatch this brickwork. We won't forget to do that. Remember, we're only doing the bricks, we're not doing the engaged attached pier because we would have missed the attached pier with the cut. Right, I'll just select something. Probably black would be the best to see that. Let's start labelling something up here. I try not to cross over some of your lines there. Look, the neatest looking labelling always starts on the one margin and stays on the one side of the page. So you do something like this, you go 13mm plasterboard. Oops, I should have done that in uppercase, but sometimes I get used to going in lowercase, but that's okay. If you do it once or twice, just fix it, guys, as you go along. Alright, 90mm corners. On the walls, I'll mention the wall frame down on this one, guys. On the walls here, 10mm plasterboard. Okay. Come over to here and let's mention a few things here. As I said, try to keep your labelling in the one line. And we could even mention these guys while we're here and get everything. Veneer ties. At 600 centres. Let's mention some components up here now, guys. We'll come up the top here. Sometimes you could write it like this: 90 by 45 rafters. At 600 centres. 100 by 50. Oh, let's make them F7. Ceiling joists. .600 centres. Rafters. Don't cross over your drawing if you can with the line. I'd much prefer you do something even like this, but don't cross over your drawing with any of these pointers. Okay, let's do something like this now. 350 oops by 25, usually concrete. Tiles. Point to that. Come underneath. We'll make a bit of a list here and then come up and point to the 100 millimeter quad, QUAD, gutter. 180 by 25 fascia. Alright, 4.5 eaves running. And we can just start pointing to that. What I usually do is just sort of go from the bottom one. I mean, to do it really so you shouldn't actually cross any line. I don't mind the lines crossing each other out there. Alright, so the top half of the drawing label. Let's go down now and finish the bottom half of the drawing off. And we'll come back up this way, why not? Let's point to the Footing now 450 by 450. Concrete. Footing. Alright. And we'll talk to that. T trench mesh 11, 3 bar top plus bot, top plus bottom. R10 stirrups, sorry, double PS at 900 centers, and we can go ground line. And we can play with these guys while we're here. We can label these ones. Let's go there. As I said, I shouldn't have really crossed the drawing, but you know, it's as long as you only, you know, don't once or twice is all right. As long as it's really neat. To 100 by 50. F11. Joyce. 450. CTS. Bearer 100 by 75, F11, 1800, CTS. Alright. And while we're here, we'll label a bit of here, and we can point to that. Attach pier. And we can come on the outside here, and we can put some more labelling in here, and we'll just about finish it off. Face brickwork. Just face brick is okay to say that. DPC with full ant cap. And we can mention a few things here. We could go and we can say 75 minimum. We could even say and fit in here, back fill. I think we've just about got a few things here. We've just got to put a little bit of plasterboard on there and some skirting board, but let's finish off the brickwork first. Once again, start at a central point. Always start at the top of the ant cap when you're marking out your brickwork, because as I said, I've always said, it doesn't matter if you end up with half a brick down on the footing, but you don't want that to happen up on the brickwork, on the where it's exposed. Sorry, 7610, 7610. Ah, we fluked that. There you go. I'll need to go back up in the other direction as well, so I'll put that. I'll do that now. Why not? coming up, and there's our last brick there. Let's bring our bricks through. Working down. Try to keep accurate. Try to keep them straight. The more you care about it, the better it's going to look. Remember, I still see a lot of people out there who draw these the wrong size. Remember, a brick is 76 millimeters. A bed joint is 10 millimeters. In the scale of 1 to 1, that is 7.6, and the bed joint is 1 millimeter. All you got to remember. There we go, almost done now. And I think we're just about on the home stretch. Right. We left out our attached pier brick. Oops. Just run that through. And we've got one there. Right, hang on, I'll just get rid of that. Get out of there. Gotcha. Stupid safe programs they want me to load. Okay guys, let's hatch here. Remember, we don't have to hatch the attached pier. And there it is. There it all is. We've got everything. Ooh, we've left out the plasterboard and the skirting board there, and we haven't labelled up in there. So let's put the plasterboard on, and I think we've left a couple of other things out too. So a splayed skirting, 75mm, looks something like that. It's just got that little splayed edge on it. Alright. Let's run our sarking down through, right down till it sits on the ant cap, and behind that, guys, we will put in some vermin wire. Stop those rats coming in between the bearers and coming up and having a bit of it, try it getting up through the cavity, and they're pretty clever, they will. Alright, we'll just get the right selection here. Let's finish off our labelling now. We've got 10mm plasterboard. And we've got 75mm splayed. skirting. And we've got 19mm yellow tongue. Right, better mention that vermin wire as well, guys. Even if we pointed towards it, vermin wire. And I forgot one more item here. We're going to have a terracotta vent at 2.1 centers. Usually a 2-course vent, meaning it's 2 bricks high. Just some hidden detail there would be enough to do that. And I've got terracotta vent. Wait to that, 2.1 centers. And I think that's it. Alright. It's a bit of a big drawing, sure, but it's not that complicated. And hopefully we've ticked all the boxes. I usually just go through at the end and see and check that we've got everything. He didn't mention a downpipe, so we won't put any downpipe on. We'll do another one of those in class anyway. So I think that's me signing off. Have a wonderful Friday evening and stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Bye bye now.